G'day, and welcome back to Australian Guy Films. I'm Pip Bullinart, and of course, there's Chili right there with me. Today was a great day. My host from the guest house I'm staying at, Joe, offered to take me for a drive around the island and show me a few of the sights. So I decided that would be a fantastic way to spend the day. So Chili and I grabbed some camera gear and jumped in the car with Joe and took a drive around the island. Now, as you can see, the roads are really small, tight and twisty. There's a lot of ups and downs, and if you notice, all of the cars are very, very small and compact. There are a few vans I've seen driving around, and a few trucks, and even a few buses. But the majority of the cars are these pint-sized little cars, which are perfect for this size island and the little roads that they run around on here. Now, for all you floral buffs, you can see all these blue and white flowers along the highway. I was told today these are hydrangeas, and they are quite spectacular, lining the highways almost everywhere you go. So the roads are quite twisty and turny and very, very narrow, and I have actually sped this up just a little bit for you to save a little bit of time. The idea of this film was to give you an idea of what the island's like, more so than actually showing you in real time. Now, one of the great things about this island is it's not very big. It's about 88 kilometers long and about 50 or 60 kilometers wide, I believe. So it's not that big, and you can get around the whole thing in just a few hours. Now, this highway we're on, this is a new highway. It's been there only about 10 years, built by a Spanish company, and it has changed the life on the island. This road we're on now used to be the main highway around the island, and it would take 45 minutes to get from one side to the other, and now it takes just a few minutes on this new highway. But because we're on holidays and because we're looking for a pretty view, Joe took me along the little tiny roads most of the time, and as you can see, you need to keep your eyes on the road, because one little mistake and I think you could go over the side. I was very happy that Joe invited me around the island today. I don't have transportation of my own on the island, so I was kind of planning on staying in one spot, or at least in the villages either side of where I'm staying. But with the opportunity to go for a ride around the island, I'm too smart to say no to that. So I jumped in the car and off we went, and what a wonderful day it was. So here we are again, going through one of the villages in the island, and as you can see, it's a very quiet, clean place. I must admit, it's one of the prettiest places that I've seen. It's not that big, and apparently every 6 months or so, people on the island are rotated around the council work, and they spend their days cleaning up the roads and cleaning up the sides of the roads. We passed a bunch of guys who were weed eating all along the roads, and there's very little of the island that I've seen that is overgrown. So the island is very, very well kept. The roads are very, very well maintained. And I have to say, it is one of the prettiest places that I've driven around in its entirety. Usually you find some spots that are a bit icky, but on this island, I didn't find a single one so far, which was quite amazing. The landscape does change a little bit, from farmland to forests. And although the forests aren't big, they are very, very pretty. Now, there's lots of birds on the island. I haven't seen many animals, although I did see rabbits today bouncing across the road in front of us. So I am keen to find out what kind of wildlife they do have naturally on the island, and I'll be looking for that in the next few days. Now, as you can see, rolling down here, we're on a cobblestone road, and a lot of the roads today were cobblestones, which is kind of nice. You don't see them that often as main roads, and these roads go all the way for miles and miles as cobblestones, so they were quite incredible. And then of course you come back onto the sealed roads. And here we are, we're stopping in one little village. I'd tell you the name of it, but I don't actually know. And this was quite a surprise to me, because I wasn't expected what was coming next. So hey Joe, say hi to my friends.
Hi.
And this is Joe. He's the host in the hotel that I'm staying with here on the Azores Islands.
One of the little geysers.
And down here we have natural hot springs, geysers from the volcanic area. You can't smell it, but I can. It's a little bit sulfury, and you can see the bubbles popping up there. And here's a much bigger geyser, and oh my God, how pretty is this water? Smells great, huh?
Boiled eggs.
Boiled eggs, old boiled eggs and football socks. Over here we can find a third one. As you can see, the steam coming up out of the wall. Is this the same?
No, that's fresh water.
That's fresh water?
Yeah.
Natural or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Phil, you thirsty? Fresh water.
Chili, come look. Come on down here. Rouse. Come here. Come on down. Here. Don't kick my camera over. Come on. Look. Look. So all of the places that we went today had these little information signs. I didn't spend a lot of time reading them. They're both in Portuguese and English. And this little hut here on the side of the village, this is actually a spa that's been open in the last few years. You pay €3, I believe, and you can go in and soak in the natural hot springs. But we weren't there to soak today. I might go back and do that sometime in the next week or so. Today was all about just having a look around the island, so we set off again. And not knowing where we're going or what we were doing, I was just a passenger and very happy to have a look around the island without having to think about where to go today. Like I say, it is a very, very pretty island. A lot of these buildings are from a couple of 100 years ago, and the history here is quite incredible. I really do wish that I spoke a little bit of Portuguese so I could understand a little bit more what was going on around me. However, a lot of people on the island, it turns out, speak very, very good English. So even if you don't speak Portuguese, you're not going to be left alone here with nobody to talk to. There's very, very friendly people here on the island who love to share their history, their culture, and their way of life. Speaking of history and culture and way of life, this was quite a surprise to me. We just drove out the village just a little bit and then up this little hill, and we parked. And what we found here is these little tiny geysers. And these geysers, these steam geysers, have been capped, and they actually use them to cook. The public, the general public, the locals, the tourists, anyone is welcome to come and pop the lids off these things, drop down a big bowl of food, and come back a number of hours later, and your food will be cooked for you. All the way around the island, you see these little rest stops, these little picnic areas, and these little park benches in the most random of places. And from what I understand, they're very popular on weekends with locals especially, but tourists alike will take their whole family down to a barbecue area and have quite a little feast out in the public, lay a blanket down on the grass, and then have themselves an afternoon nap. It seems like the perfect place to do that. Everywhere there's a special view, everywhere there's a nice little place to stop, and why not? The most surprising thing was the council actually cuts down all the dropped foliage, and they store it for the year, and then during the summer they actually come around to the different picnic areas and they supply barbecue firewood so that the people don't have to go cutting trees down in the forest. And I am sure that is going to protect the forest for a lot longer than most forests, where most people just go in, pick up whatever wood they find and burn that. So that was quite an amazing surprise for me to find out that the government supplies firewood for public barbecue spaces. And not only that, but the people who use these public barbecue spaces and these natural geysers all the time. So that splash, splash, splash you hear in the background, well, that's Chili taking a drink. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm feeling a little jet lagged, so I'm editing this video rather than pretending to try to sleep. And Chili's looking at me thinking, why aren't you asleep, man? It's getting late. But hey, time is time. Wasted time is wasted time. So this is about 10.5 minutes into this video, and the last video I put on, or rather the first video I put of the Azores, I was amazed to wake up this morning and have a look and find that people have been watching 10 or 12 minutes of the video. I do tend to post my videos at full length or very long, and that's because I'm not actually looking for clickbait. I'm looking for people who are interested in the subjects that I'm filming. So as always, if you do like my films, please subscribe. I'm just going to keep banging them out, and they're going to be all different, all the same, all about me and my Chili's travels. So we continued on and we continued on, and we're going to roll around this island and we're going to have a bit of a look. Anyway, I'm really running out of things to say here, so I'm just going to waffle on about absolutely anything. And I always suggest, if you're watching my videos, turn the volume down, put your favorite music on, and just check out the scenery. One of the things that was like kind of different for me was these walls all along the roads. You don't actually get to see what's on the other side of them until you pass the gate. But there seems to be lots of big old volcanic rock walls. So here we are coming into one of the towns, and again, incredibly pretty. The houses go right up to the roads. There's not much for bicycle lane and not much space. It is a very small island, as you can see. But these buildings are really quite pretty. And once you get into the city, it's quite a little maze. I could imagine there's tourists that walk around there all day long, completely lost, having no idea where they are. But I am certain, because of the people that I've met here, that they have the most amazing of random encounters with the local people. I haven't met a local person that hasn't had time to stop and say hi yet. They're all thrilled with meeting Chili. As you can see earlier on in the video, I tell people Chili's name and people remember his name, and they're all about the Chili. So I'm absolutely stoked that I was able to get Chili out of the States and bring him here with me. He opens doors that I could never open myself. He has conversations with people. He goes up to them and he leans on them and he makes friends, and I just pick up the tail end of the friendship. They kind of accept me because they want to know Chili, which is good for me. So this was kind of amazing, these little tiny streets and these big full-size tour buses. These tour bus drivers must be absolute genius drivers to be able to get down these roads and around these corners without any problems. So as you can see, the village just gets prettier and prettier as you go in. It's like, wow. The parking is kind of fun. The cars all just pull up as close as they can to the house, halfway onto the road. And I guess that's where you got to park because there's nowhere else to park. The only real rules with parking is don't park where it's yellow, don't block a gate, and don't block somebody's door. Kind of makes sense when you think about it. You see the passengers get out of the car, and then cars drive right up and park right up against the wall on the side of the road. And everybody seems happy with that. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't stay. I was looking at staying in Punta Delgado. It's the main city on the village, on the island. But the opportunity came up in the airport when I met Joe and Rosa, his lovely wife. They heard that I hadn't had accommodation booked, and they have these 3 lovely little bungalows on their property behind their house, so they offered me one of those for my stay. But above and beyond that, today while we were driving around, Joe told me that on Thursday, him and his lovely wife are heading across to one of the other islands in the Azores Islands. They're buying a new piece of property over there. That's why they came back from the States to do this trip. And I was absolutely flabbergasted. They're leaving on Thursday, and I've decided to stay here a little while longer, and Joe offered me the use of his car while they're away. So I will be able to get out and have a look around the island a little bit better. I can't wait to go into the city and actually spend a day there, meet some people, have a meal, and maybe have a look around as well. There's some incredible churches on the island. Some of them are hundreds and hundreds of years old. I'm not a very religious person, but I have seen photos of a few of them, and I think I'm going to go looking at a couple of churches while I'm here as well. And that might surprise a few of my friends, because most people know I'm really not a religious person. I'm not interested in that kind of thing. However, the history is something that always fascinates me. And so to go and have a look at a place that was discovered in the late 1400s, it was almost 1500 when they finally found the islands. And being a Catholic society, they were pretty quick to build themselves some churches. Also, some of these buildings have cornerstones that are dated, and I've seen cornerstones from the 1700s and cornerstones from the 1800s. And there's even a few modern buildings on the island. We did drive past a few estates where they look like they've been building new houses recently. Now, coming from a country myself that's just over a couple of hundred years old, I find the history in older societies to be kind of fascinating. Some of these people have traced their families back many generations. They've been on these islands for as long as their family history goes back. The island does lose some of its youth. They head off to the mainland to study, and when they hit the mainland and they study, they find that they could probably earn more money staying there than they earn when they come here, which is kind of sad, but I'm sure eventually they realize that the quality of life on the islands is so much better than the quality of life on the mainland. Everything just moves a little bit slower here. They may not make as much money, but they have plenty of time. They have time with their family, and they have a beautiful, beautiful place to live. The entire island, being an island, is surrounded by water, obviously, and being in the mid-Atlantic, the weather here in summer is a lot cooler than it would be on the mainland. We're looking at the moment about 20, 22, 23 degrees during the day, which is very, very pleasant. I'm very, very happy. Chili is enjoying the weather here so much. He's got a big fur coat, and he tends to suffer from the heat sometimes. I am very careful with that. I don't make him go out in the sun when it's hot. I don't make him do anything ever. He's certainly a dog that's got free will. That's one of the best parts about Chili, because he chooses to do the right thing all of the time. We did have an encounter today when we were at one of the geysers where there was a couple of other people with a couple of dogs, and as soon as Chili comes trotting along, again, people who know me know that I wear the leash and Chili goes free. So Chili wanders along the streets, and then a couple of dogs started getting a little bit yappity, and Chili just walks over to them and stands there and be all submissive until they calm down, accept him, and start wagging the tail. And then, of course, he has more friends to deal with. That's a universal thing with Chili. He doesn't react when another dog, if he's walking past and another dog starts going crazy, barking and yapping and trying to attack him. Chili doesn't react. He just stands there and accepts it. He's a big dog. He can take a thrashing if he needs to from a Chihuahua, and he doesn't seem too bothered by other dogs losing their shit. It's one of the reasons I can travel with Chili. I trust him completely in every situation. He's 13 years old now, and he's never once been the instigator of a fight. He's never once reacted to a dog that wanted to fight. He's never barked in public. He's never shit on the street. In fact, those who know Chili, I don't believe there's any of them that have ever actually seen Chili take a dump. He won't take a dump on the sidewalk. He won't take a dump on cut grass. he has this strange thing where he wants to go and hide it behind a bush. I think he's seen me collect it a few times, and he's like, hey dude, we don't want that anymore, that one's like finished. So he tries to hide it from me whenever he can. That's why when I go for a walk and Chili disappears behind a bush or a building or somewhere else, I know that he's off looking for somewhere to go for the toilet, so I just stop where I am and I let him do his business, and he always comes trotting out with a happy, relieved look on his face a couple of minutes later. So here we are driving up one of the volcanoes on the island, and there's 2 or 3 of them that we saw today, and once you get up the top, the view is quite spectacular. From here we could see both sides of the island quite clearly, and on one side was a volcanic lake, and I gotta say, these lakes are really amazing. I saw one lake on the in a volcano on the other side of the island when we were flying in that had a village down inside the lip of the volcano. So with any luck, next week I'm gonna go for a drive up to the other side of the island and then maybe down into the volcano.
Dock, stick it on the ocean. Over here is Lagoa. And then you have this, see the other part of the island, that's Capellas there with a little outlet. Look at all the seagulls there.
So, like many of the places on the island, the views are just spectacular. And from up here, both sides of the island, over here we have another crater lake, quite spectacular. Now we did come up against another crater lake, you'll see it in just a moment, and this crater lake was actually, there was farms that were set up around the lake, and because of the runoff of fertilizer, the biology in the lake started to suffer, so the government actually bought the land back from the farmers and have started to replant natural vegetation. This is the lake I'm talking about. It was in a sad state, and the government decided to fix it. Not many governments around the world actually buy back land to fix things from farmers, but this is one of them. Again, it's one of the things that makes the Azores Islands really special. So hey, that's the end of this video. If you liked it, hit the subscribe button, share it. Make a comment. I love the comments. I always respond to the comments. Consider starting a conversation with me through the comments.